Welcome everybody to Crypto Rosetta. My name is Savage. Today we're going to be having a look at BTC. Let's get into the charts and see what's going on. So on the bigger time frames here, what we are still looking for is either the bullish potential here, where we are looking for this move as a bigger wave 2 to the downside, in which case what we are looking for is potential to come back down into this 382 to the 786. Invalidation of this comes by crossing this point down here, this 24,800, and this is looking for the potential that this could be 1-2, looking for a bigger third wave to the upside. Now, given our current level of this 0.236, 1.618 is actually all the way up here towards this 43,447. So this would be, if we don't actually have another drop to the downside, this would be our potential wave 3 target. Now, if we are looking at this, it does look like the potential is more likely that we're still going to see some continuation to the downside. Now, this is the bullish way of looking at this. We also need to be aware that there is still this potential that we could have something along these lines here, where what we have is just actually a bigger corrective structure here still, where this is a W, this is an X, and we're still looking for this possibility of either a Y wave to the downside, in which case what we'll be looking for is effectively a 3-wave move to the downside. The minimum requirement we'd be looking for would be this 28,419 to this 26,510. Now, if we do start to get something more like this, where we get a bigger 5-wave move to the downside, then it would be more probable that this is actually A, B, and C, in which case what we could potentially do, if we are looking to invalidate this idea of us looking to push to the upside from this point, would mean that we could get a move down towards this 25,067 to this 23,373 as a possible downside target. Okay, so let's get into the micro counting here and actually have a look at the structure, because it is still very complex. So we need to just be aware that we need certain things to confirm themselves here or invalidate to give us a bit more clarity. So the way that I'm currently looking at this, I'm still favoring the idea here that what we are looking for is a zigzag to the downside, where we're looking at this as a bigger A pattern, a B pattern, and a C pattern. Now, it is possible that this B wave could already be completed over here, and we could be looking for this to develop to the downside in a 5-wave structure, but it is also possible that this B could still be in play here. Now, we could also argue that this A wave is over here, and this is all part of this corrective structure, in which case this would change the count slightly. We're going to go over this idea here that we're looking for this as A, B, and C to the downside first, and what we'd want to see looking to play out if this is the case. So within this structure here, what we were saying is, because we still have this area up here where, we just haven't come back up into here, there's an imbalance up in this zone. So what I'm looking for is the possibility here that we could still see price move to the upside, where we could see something along these lines. So it is starting to form quite nicely here, looking at this as a flat, looking for this as an A wave. We need to see this as A, B, and C to the downside to confirm, and then looking for a C wave back to the upside. Now, if we're looking at this in this way, we can see that we actually came up to that 1.618 we were talking about yesterday. Now, we didn't hold that as a 4th wave. So we were talking about a potential bullish count here where this was 1-2, 1-2, and then we're looking for this to develop into a bigger 5-wave structure, but we lost that position. And effectively, we came down too low and invalidated that idea of extension in this way. There is a potential bullish way of counting this, which we're going to go over in a second. But effectively, within this count, what we'd be looking for is a bigger A, B, and a C pattern to the downside. So our common target that we look for a B wave, it's actually here between this 29,512 to this 29,173. If we see this move develop 2 more waves to the downside here, effectively this would start lining up really nicely with the idea that this is an A wave, this is a B wave, and we're going to see this C wave to the upside. Now, some common areas, depending on how deep we come here, if we went towards that 1382, which would be this 29,302, 1.618 to the upside would be here at this 30,765. Now, if I overlay this onto this idea here, you can see that this would actually look to bring us up here between this 382 and this 50% level, possibly even a little bit higher here if the C wave extends up towards this 30,908. This would align with coming back into that golden pocket. So I'm looking out for this potential that even if we do see a push to the downside here, we could potentially see a reversal still back to the upside here, and possibly back into this this channel that we've got. So if we do see price move back up here, this 50% is going to be quite an interesting area. This 30,636 could be quite an interesting zone to keep an eye on if we see this develop as a flat to the upside here. Now, we could also argue that, like I said, from further back here, we have this as our fifth wave low. And then we could have something like this, where this is actually a W. This is a flat for an X wave. And we could be looking for this as either a Y wave, where we say that this Y wave is already completed, in which case this could all become A, we get B, and we still see a C to the upside. So those key zones that we talked about, their typical resistance area rather, is going to be a zone we need to keep an eye on. So between this 30,367 to this 31,299, if we see three waves up here, we need to be very cautious that we could still see this C wave come down at a later point. If we fail to do that and we actually start to develop impulsively to the upside, we do have another count where we could be looking for a break to the upside. Now, within this count, we can argue that, you know, we could be getting something like a diagonal over here as well. That is also a possibility. But really what we have to be cautious of is until we actually break this high here, which is sitting at this 30,417, what we need to be on the lookout for is that idea that we're still going to see this low get taken out. Now, if we did see something like this, where we just take this low, what I'm going to be looking for is effectively that idea of that 5-wave move up. If we want to argue that we want to find bullish structure, we need to hold above this low in the next part of the structure here, forming this as a 1-2 and then looking to move away. Until we actually do that, we need to just be cautious because we still have this potential to the downside. Now, the most bearish scenario here would be looking at this potentially as 1-2, 1-2 here. And effectively what we're looking for is another 5-wave move down towards this 1618 here at this 27,059 to confirm this. So it's possible that for as long as we actually stay below this 30,417, we could still see something like this develop, where this actually becomes 1-2, and instead of getting a move down to this 1-1, which is sitting at this 29,505, what we could actually see is a bigger move to the downside, where this becomes 1-2-3. If we move down towards this 28,995 level, this would confirm this. If we are looking at something like this, it is also possible we form another 1 and 2 here, and then we look to break down for this, where this becomes 1-2, 1-2, 3, 4, 5, and then so on and so forth to the downside. So this is why we have to just be careful until we actually start breaking back above these highs. There is a lot of potential for this continuation to the downside here. Now, if we are looking at this idea of a break to the downside, what we would be saying here within this structure is that we could have this as 1-2, 1-2 here, and then we're looking for this as 3, 4, and 5. Now, we are right in this typical rejection area, which would be this 29,878 to this 29,763. Now, invalidation of this fifth wave that we've got over here comes by crossing back above this wave 1 area. So if we cross 29,916, this would invalidate the idea that we have this as another 1-2 here, and that this is a fourth and a fifth. If we do that, we need to be very careful because this could also just be ABC. We don't have all the waves here yet. So if this is just ABC, this could actually be implying that we could see another push to the upside first before we come to the downside. So need to be careful on this. You know, this is going to be our sort of line in the sand. If we start breaking back above this 29,878, we need to be cautious of invalidating. As soon as we get back above these highs here, the likelihood becomes then that, you know, this is just a corrective structure here to the downside, and we could actually see price look to reverse to the upside. Now, if we are looking at this move where this is 1-2, 1-2, 3, 4, 5, 4, and 5, our current target area for this yellow fifth wave would be around this zone of this 29,547 to this 29,467 as a possible target. Now, this would align with the idea of coming back into the 1-to-1 here of this flat, which would be sitting here towards this 29,510. So this is why I'm still looking for that possibility. We could see price come down here one more time. Well, actually 2 more times in this case, where we see a bounce and then another fifth wave to the downside. I'm going to be keeping an eye on this target area here. Until we actually break these lows, though, I'm just going to go over a more bullish count here, where we were talking about the other day, where we were looking for that possibility of a break to the upside, where what we're saying is, we need to be on the lookout that this could be 1-2 here, and we could be looking to form another 1-2. Now, we were talking about the internals of this, saying what we could have is this is 1-2, another 1-2, and then we're looking for a continuation up. Now, we've come down too deep for this idea, in my opinion, anymore, so I'm actually going to remove that. But one thing we haven't invalidated the idea of yet, and now this would only invalidate by crossing this zone here of this 29,625. If we do look to hold this level, what I'm just being careful of is there could be the potential that we have something like this as an expanding diagonal forming. So if all of a sudden we start to see a bigger 5-wave move to the upside here, we get 3 waves down, we get another 5-wave move to the upside here, and we manage to cross this zone here of this 30,385. Now we have to cross this if this is going to be an expanding diagonal. What we could then see is that this could be 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 here, and then what we'd be looking for is a retracement to the downside. Now, it's possible that this could just be ABC. It would be very big though for a C wave in relation to this move over here. So if we do see something like that, this could still be a C wave, but confirmation of that being a C wave only comes by breaking back down below this low here of this 29,570. So gonna have to keep an eye on this structure here, see exactly how it develops, but this is still, potentially on the cards here until we actually take these lows. So if we do see price move up in a bigger 3-wave move here, forming a expanding wedge here, what we could actually see then is a move back down here, finding support, and then looking for that potential to continue up, where this could still be 1-2, this could be 1-2, and then we still look to push up in a bigger way here. Or alternatively, this could be ABC. We look for a 3-wave move down, and we look for that continuation up. So that would be looking at, possibility here that we could still see price look to rally in the short term here. So going to be looking out for this idea, because until we take these lows, it's less probable. But, from a probability standpoint, to be honest with you, until we actually take this high here, I'm sort of leaning more towards the idea that we're going to see, additional structure to the downside. But we're going to have to keep an eye on it and see exactly if we get those additional 4ths and 5ths. Now, having a look at the daily CPR lines here, what we can see is that we actually did print a higher CPR, but we came down into it towards midnight, and then we actually rejected off this zone. We are still currently holding this S1 line, which is a good sign, but if we start to lose this, what we could potentially see is price could get gravitated towards this 29,438. We have this area here, this 29,131, and this 28,818 as possible downside targets for today still. So going to be keeping an eye on this. If we start to lose this S1 line, we could potentially move back into some of these lower levels. If we do start to actually get a move back to the upside here, going to be keeping an eye on this zone of this 30,072 to this 30,028 as possible rejection area here, where we could see price just move back to the upside here in a corrective way and then still look to break to the downside. If we do manage to flip back above these central lines here, possible upside targets for today would be this 30,377, 30,674, 30,996, and this higher level here of this 31,290 as potential upside targets for today. So going to be keeping an eye on that if we see price start to move to the upside. Now we also do have new weekly pivot lines here. Now we can see that these have actually printed lower than the previous one. So these are showing us that there's a bit of weakness within the market at the moment. Once again, same sort of idea here. We are below these central lines, which are still sitting here towards this 29,967 to this 30,045 level. Now, if we do see price move back into these, we could potentially look to reject off of them. And then if we do look to reject down, what we have as possible targets for this week is this 29,603. We have this 29,102 and this 28,683 as possible downside targets for this week. So price can always move through these levels, so we always need to be aware of that. So just because these lines only end here doesn't mean that it can't move through. Alternatively, if we do manage to flip back above these, possible upside targets would be this 30,497, 30,908, and this 31,400 level as a possible zone where we could see price look to move to the upside if we manage to flip these back into support. As with the monthly, same sort of idea here. We are still bouncing off of this top CPR line here, which is sitting at this 29,685. If we start to lose this, then we could actually see price get gravitated down towards this 28,898, and this level here of this 28,107 is possible support zones higher up here. If we lose that, then the next zone I'd be looking for would be towards this 26,372 as a possible support lower down here. This would align with the idea of us actually getting a 5-wave structure to the downside, so we'll be keeping an eye on this level if we do start to break down in a bigger way. If, however, we do look to continue to hold these lines and we start to see price move away from this zone, what I'll be looking for to the upside for the remainder of this month will be this 32,983. We have this 35,532 and this level here of this 39,633 to the upside. Okay, so I'm going to leave the video there. I hope you found it useful. If you did, please smash the like button, hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. Turn on those bell notifications so you never miss a video. Leave us some feedback down below, and in the description you'll find a link to the Discord. Come check it out. It's free to join. Everyone have a great day. We'll see you in the next one. Take care.